it's going to be garbage. But if they give us a bunch of good, solid matches, then I would be happy watching a 7-8 hour pay-per-view. WrestleMania is the biggest pay-per-view of the year. Like I said, we got 3 weeks. We got 3 more Raws, 3 more Smackdowns leading up into WrestleMania. So if WWE does it right, they can put together some really solid matches. AJ Styles versus Randy Orton is going to be phenomenal. That triple threat match. Bring the Money in the Bank match back to WrestleMania. I know they got their own pay-per-view now with Money in the Bank, but that was like one of my favorite parts of WrestleMania. If they don't do a Raw or SmackDown Money in the Bank, we know that, like I said, they have their pay-per-view for that. Do an NXT Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania. Give us some like really exciting matches that are worth watching. Give us a TLC tag team match, like we saw Edge and Christian, the Hardys and the Dudleys. Put Ricochet and Aleister Black versus Chad Gable and Bobby Roode versus the Revival in a triple threat TLC ladder match for the tag titles. Matches like that would make the show worth sitting 8 hours. Jeremy said when he went to the Royal Rumble, he was there for 8 hours. And the Royal Rumble is one of the big four, or the big three. You got WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and the Royal Rumble. So yeah, it's one of the big four pay-per-views. Those are the ones out there. We've seen these really long run times. And even this year's Royal Rumble really wasn't that great. It was pretty solid, but, you know, compared to some of the previous Royal Rumbles, it didn't measure up to it. And, 17 matches, goddamn, that is a lot of matches. So we'll see if this is true or not. If they do 17 matches, hopefully, like I said, they're not a bunch of just squash matches. Jeremy says Tyson versus Sable. I'm pretty sure that'd be a one-sided beatdown, man. Mike Tyson would destroy Sable. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close out tonight's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Everybody who was in the chatty, my boy Jeremy, Brady, Mr. Chad Mincher, all of our listeners who listened in live but didn't pop in the chatty. Thank you guys so much, as well as our iHeartRadio listeners. And for the new listeners, the World Wrestling Podcast is now on Apple Podcast as well as Google Podcast. So to all of our new listeners who will be listening in on those platforms, thank you guys as well. Hope you enjoy the show. Look forward to getting more people in the chatty here during our live shows. You guys are absolutely freaking awesome. You guys are the reason I do this every week. And the World Wrestling Podcast is pushing 35,000 plays. And that just absolutely blows me away every time I see it. And real quick, I'm going to give a shout out to the top countries and the top cities who have listened to the World Wrestling Podcast in the last month. The United States sitting on top. Then we had Canada, Mexico, Indonesia, Australia, Ireland. Shout out to my Ireland listeners. Happy St. Paddy's Day. Happy St. Paddy's Day to everybody all around the world because we're all Irish tonight. We also had New Zealand, Paraguay, the United Kingdom, and France as our top countries who listened to the World Wrestling Podcast in the last 30 days. Our top cities who listened in are Sholo, Arizona, San Jose, California, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Hobart, Indiana, Birmingham, Alabama, Clearwater, Florida, Ironton, Ohio, Charlotte, North Carolina, woo! Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. So big shout outs to all the countries who listen in, as well as our top cities. You guys are absolutely phenomenal. And the total plays of the World Wrestling Podcast right now sits at 34,901. So by the end of the week, we will officially hit 35,000 plays. So I say this every week from the bottom of my heart. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. This started off as just a hobby of mine that turned into a passion. I absolutely love the days that I set up the podcast because the moment I turn my mic on and go live, all the problems of my day just kind of melt away and I get in my zone. And you guys have made it possible. So truly thank you. Again, shout outs to all the people who are live in the chatty tonight. You guys make each and every show super fun. I love reading your comments. You'll hear me giggling and shit sometimes while I'm talking because we get people like Jeremy saying that Charlotte has the best tits in the WWE while I'm trying to focus on what I'm reading here. So again, thank you guys to our iHeartRadio listeners, my Spreaker listeners, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever you listen to the World Wrestling Podcast. Thank you. And until next time, take care of each other and yourselves. I am the Big Cali Kid, Sean B., and this was the World Wrestling Podcast.
Get over here! Is it insane to be repeatedly hit in the brain, and in spite of the pain you get up to get knocked out again? Stuck in the combat of this mortal plane, but you and I keep playing the same game. Fight! I'm on the brink, don't think for a moment I won't come at my opponent with everything but the kitchen sink. More than just a fighter, I'm a flamethrowing igniter, torching tracks like melted wax. Rip off my mask and spit fire. I'm an anomaly, effortless flow phenomenally. I'm a white-knighted novelty, I'm an oddity on an odyssey. I'll embody a prodigy, offer no apologies. Probably raise a progeny, well that shit's just biology.